Hi! So, as we all know, Europeans came to America and they thought they discovered a new continent. They're kind of silly because millions of people already lived on the American continent. And of these people and these nations, there are still 11 nations that still exist in Quebec. The one I'm going to be talking about today is the Innu nation. And my question is the decline of the caribou population related with the decline of the Innu culture? My name is Xavier Beaupré, and this is my masterclass. So I chose this subject because last semester I took an anthropology class and I loved it. I even took a trip to live 4 days at an Innu's house, and I loved it and learned so much about this culture. So I would like to first start with 5 vocabulary words. So the first one is buckskin. So buckskin is the leather of an animal that is used to make shoes or, tools, a lot of things. Then the second word is an eel. So an eel is a snake-like fish that is eaten by Innu people. The third word is a sweat lodge. A sweat lodge is a tent full of steam that make you sweat a lot. It is used to purify the body and to connect and communicate with the spiritual world. So the fourth word is regalia, and a regalia is a traditional clothing made of buckskin. And the last word is ethnocide, and an ethnocide is when dominant cultural group will destroy the culture of another ethnical group. When Samuel de Champlain came to what is now called Quebec, he stopped first at Tadoussac, and in Tadoussac he met a lot of Innu people, and he created with them the fur trade. So basically they would hunt animals and give the fur to Europeans, and then the Europeans would bring the fur to Europe to create clothing and sell them. And I have a little video that explained the fur trade.
Ever since Cartier's time, French and Basque fishermen have been trading furs with the Montagnais Indians. At first, it is only a sideline. But by the early 17th century, the profits are turning out to be spectacular.
But then private industry took control of the fur trade and started doing commercial forestry, and they even took control of the rivers, which made it impossible for Innu people to continue to hunt and fish and follow caribou herds. So they basically lost their nomadic lifestyle and had to settle. And many of Innu people died of diseases from Europeans or starvation because of the overexploitation of the land. So they basically had no other choices than to settle into communities, which the government created for them and even obligated, like it was mandatory for them to settle in the community. And then basically what the government did, they created residential schools in the communities, and we all know that many children died in those residential schools, and the whole point of communities were to destroy the culture of Innu people and other native people. We could qualify it of an ethnocide, and even today they still live in communities and don't have their land back. And Here's a map of all the Innu communities, which are basically nothing if you compare it to the Nitassinan. So in Innu cosmology, they believe that there are multiple worlds, and humans live in the human world, while animals, land, and sky lives in the physical world, and they can contact the spiritual world, which is composed of the spirit of everything, because they believe that everything, like objects and animals and humans, have a spirit. And to communicate with this world, they need to do some ritual, so the shaking tent ritual or the sweat lodge ritual. And basically all the worlds have to work to create a balance in the universe, and humans have to show respect to spirits or animals or the land, the sky, everything, every world, in order to keep a balance in the universe. And when the universe is unbalanced, that's when wars or starvation, diseases will happen. As you may or may not know, the Innu nation actually has its own language, and it's called Innu Aimun. And it's a language very based on nature, hunting, animals, the land, fishing. It's very connected to the nature and really descriptive. By example, there are around 200 words to describe or to talk about. And basically, Innu Aimun is actually divided into major dialects, which are both divided into minor dialects. And as you can see here on the map, you have in red the East dialect and in blue the West dialect. In Innu Aimun's alphabet there are actually 11 letters, but you could say there are 18 because some of them are just written differently and pronounced differently, and so we say there are 18, so 7 vowels and 11 consonants. The Innu nation is a very rich nation in many art forms, such as paintings, sculptures, jewelry, but most importantly in music. They even have a festival every summer, which is called the Innu Nkamu. Remember that question I asked you at the beginning of my video? Well, I'm gonna answer it. So, because the caribou is so essential to the Innu culture, as I showed in my video, it's been proven that the decline of the caribou population is unfortunately related with the decline of the Innu culture. To conclude my masterclass, I would like to read to you a little quote by Jack London. Dark spruce forest frowned on either side the frozen waterway. The trees had been stripped by a recent wind of their white covering of frost, and they seemed to lean towards each other, black and ominous in the fading light. A vast silence reigned.